Hello and welcome or welcome back to the Import Export Hub channel, everybody. Borin Bogdan here, your host for the next couple of minutes. I hope that you are all doing great. Thanks for joining in. And guys, without asking you to hit those small buttons below this video, let's jump to the 5 products that I highly recommend importing from South Africa. And the first one comes from heading 7113. So we are speaking about articles of jewelry and parts thereof of precious metals. And we see that for 2022, South Africa's exports amounted to almost $205 million, some 18% more than in the previous year, which translates into $31 million more exports, with the United States here, the United Arab Emirates, and also the United Kingdom as the main destinations. But we have others like, I don't know, Namibia, Australia, or Ireland, but let's face it, with much, much lower values. As you can see, the United States clearly dominates, with more than 80% of South Africa's exports being directed towards them. And we see that in the last 5 years, the compound annual growth rate is 11%. Quite good if you ask me, especially if the last 2 years trend keeps the momentum. Now, relative to the year-on-year changes, overall we have positive figures thanks to the strong volumes coming from the first 3 partners, especially the United Arab Emirates, who managed to increase its imports from South Africa with some $26.6 million. And guys, speaking of United Arab Emirates, I'll now tell you the main drivers as well. And we have silver jewelry towards the United Arab Emirates. So we are speaking about subheading 711311. While towards Italy, again, we have articles of jewelry and parts thereof of precious metals other than silver. So subheading 711319. Jumping now to my second recommendation, we have heading 0802, other nuts, fresh or dried, with some $456 million worth of exports for 2022, with China, the United States, and the Netherlands as the main partners, which were followed by other important ones like, I don't know, Vietnam, Japan, or Belgium, to name just a few from this top 10 list. The last 5 years compound annual growth rate is at 2.6%, with a small contraction in 2020, but otherwise the exports are pretty stable, especially in relation with China, who from 2019 became South Africa's largest export market from this particular heading. Now, in what concerns the year-on-year dynamics, we have almost 12% growth in relative terms and some $47 million in absolute ones, thanks to the strong volumes coming from China, who managed to increase its imports with some $117.5 million relative to 2021. While on the other side, so contraction, both Vietnam and the United States somehow managed to decrease their imports from South Africa with some $19 million each. So these were the main dynamics. Now let's see what drove South Africa's exports from this particular heading. And towards China we have subheading 080299, while towards the Russian Federation we have fresh or dried almonds, shelled, so subheading 080212. Jumping now to my third recommendation, we have here heading 0805, so citrus fruit, again fresh or dried, and we see that for 2022 the overall exports amounted to some $1.7 billion, with the Netherlands here, United Kingdom, and the Russian Federation as the main partners, which were followed by others like the United Arab Emirates, China, or Portugal. The last one with some $70 million worth of imports from South Africa. In terms of year-on-year changes, we see a 6% contraction in relative terms and $113.5 million in absolute ones. Pretty big shock if you ask me. But if we zoom out, we see that in the last 5 years, the compound annual growth rate was positive around 2.3%. We see here that the Netherlands and the United Kingdom had the largest contractions in absolute figures, some $36 million for the former and $23 million for the latter. While in terms of positive changes, we have here China and the Russian Federation, who increased their imports with $13.3 million and $9.4 million respectively. But unfortunately not enough to cancel the overall negative result. And here, for me at least, it will be very interesting to follow up how the exports towards Russia will evolve in 2023. Now, in what concerns the main drivers, well, towards the United Kingdom we have fresh or dried mandarins, while towards the United Arab Emirates we have fresh or dried oranges. Moving now, guys, to my fourth recommendation. We have another food related item, this time grapes, fresh or dried, so heading 0806, with almost $850 million worth of exports for 2022, which is 5.5% more than in 2021, with the Netherlands, United Kingdom and Canada as the main partners, which were followed by second tier importers, if you want, like, I don't know, Vietnam, Israel or the United Arab Emirates, again to mention just a couple from this top 10 list. The exports towards the Netherlands are quite concentrated, some 43%, almost as much as the rest of the 9 partners combined. And my guess is that for the European market at least, we have some very angry UK and German importers, as the Netherlands somehow managed to capture a lot of their market and also customers. Now, relative to the year-on-year dynamics, we have here 3 countries in this top 10 list who had contractions, so the United Kingdom, Germany and Malaysia, while in terms of expansion we have the business and the trade-savvy Netherlands, who managed $30.5 million absolute positive change. But I see good figures coming also from the United States, most probably driven by some US importers wanting to escape the uber competitive landscape from markets like Chile or Peru, who are South Africa's main competitors for the northern hemisphere winter season. As for the main drivers, well, for both the United Kingdom and Canada, we have the same subheading, sorry. So fresh grapes 080610. And now, guys, with this being also covered, let's jump to my 5th and last recommendation, which comes from heading 1209. So we are talking about seeds, fruits and spores for sowing, with a modest $76 million worth of exports, but with a lot of potential if you ask me. And we see that for 2022 the largest partners were Japan, the Netherlands and the United States. Almost 45% of the overall exports from this particular heading. But we have other important trading partners like, I don't know, Zambia, South Korea or the Philippines, again to name just a couple. Now, relative to the year-on-year changes, we have almost a 3% increase, with a 50-50 split, if you want, between positive and negative changes. And I'll mention here only the largest absolute figures. So on the negative side, the largest was in relation with the Netherlands, almost $4.2 million fewer exports towards them, while on the positive side, again in absolute figures, we have $4.1 million more exports towards Japan. And speaking of Japan, we have also the main driver, which is the same also for Brazil. So we're having subheading 120991 vegetable seeds for sowing. So basically as the main heading. And guys, with this last product being also covered, that's it for today. Don't forget to comment and click those annoying buttons below the video. Thanks for watching. I really hope that you enjoy it. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.